In the last episode we went to war with the mud. We used Subtractive EQ to surgically cut out the garbage and create room for our instruments to breathe. But right now your mix might feel a little too clean. Because we spent time carving away the best stuff, your track might be missing some warmth in the low end, or they might lack that expensive radio-ready shimmer on the vocals. Today we are wrapping up the foundation of the phase 1 of this masterclass with Additive EQ. The art of adding flavor. I'm going to show you the exact difference between a surgical cut and a musical boost, how to avoid tricking your ears with volume, and the secret of making your tracks sound expensive without making them harsh. When we cut frequencies, we want to be surgical, narrow and precise. But when we boost frequencies, we want to flip the script entirely. We want to be musical. In the real world, acoustic instruments and voice don't naturally vibrate at just one single sharp frequency. They vibrate in wide zones. If you take a tight, narrow curve and boost it by 6 decibels, it will definitely sound artificial and resonant. It hurts to listen. If you want to add a brightness to a vocal, warmth to a bass, or punch to a kick drum, you need to use a wide Q factor. A gentle wide curve mimics how our ears naturally experience sound in an environment. It blends the frequencies together smoothly so the listeners notice the character change, not the plugin. Of course, every mix is unique, but if your track feels flat, there are 3 classic frequency sweet spots that pros use to inject life back into a clean mix. The first one is the warmth zone. This will stay around 100 to 200 Hz. If your lead vocal or acoustic guitar feels thin after cleaning the mud, a gentle wide boost here adds the warmth resonance, an expensive weight. The second one is the definition. This is around 1.5 kHz to 3 kHz. Remember the crossover zone we talked about in episode 2? A subtle wide lift here pushes an instrument or a vocal forward in the stereo field, making it cut right through a dense mix without changing the volume fader. And the third part is the air or the shimmer zone. This will stay around 10 kHz to 16 kHz. Instead of a regular bell curve, use a high shelf filter here. This adds the expensive, breathy, high-end gloss to vocals and overheads that separates bedroom demos from pro masters. But there is a trap that you will fall into if you aren't careful. I called it the gain illusion. Louder sounds naturally trigger dopamine into your brain. Every single time you boost a frequency, you are increasing the overall volume of the track. Your brain will instantly tell you, wow, that sounds way better. Not because the EQ curve is good, but simply because it's louder. To beat this trap, you must use gain compensation. Every time you boost a frequency by 3 decibels, turn that output gain of your EQ plugin example down to -3 decibels. This keeps the volume identical when you bypass the plugin. If it still sounds better when the volume is perfectly matched, you actually made a good mixing decision. But if it doesn't, turn the boost down. Now, your homework for episode 4. Open up a project that you cleaned up in the last episode, find your lead vocal or the main instrument, there put an EQ and use a wide high shelf filter to boost the air at 12 kHz by just around 2 decibels. Match the output gain so the volume stays exactly the same when you turn the plugin on and off. And listen to how it opens out the top end of your track. In the phase 2 of this masterclass, we are moving past EQ entirely and stepping into the world of dynamic control. We are going to talk about compression, how to control the energy of your track without killing the emotions, so to keep the dynamics. Drop a comment letting me know if you struggle more with muddy lows or harsh highs. Hit subscribe and step away to reset your ears, and I'll see you in phase 2.